If you know me, you'd probably know that I'm one of the biggest BBC Merlin fans out there. Without a doubt. It's my favorite piece of media that's ever passed through my life. And I've seen a lot of stuff. Despite the show ending nearly a decade ago, what a great Christmas present for 11-year-old me. My adoration or dedication at that for the show hasn't faltered in any way whatsoever. If anything, it's only grown in measurement. I've had 10 years of rewatching and digging and analyzing and crying and laughing and just mourning the loss of this part of my life that will forever be so important to me. And that might sound a little dramatic, but when you love something that much at such a young age, it really has a hold on you. Forever. So with all that being said, let's stop dwelling on Merlin's closing chapters and instead flip back to the beginning where it all began. Let's rank every episode in the first season from worst to best. Well, more accurately, let's rank them from least good to the very good, because honestly, it's impossible for me to think of a bad episode in the show.
You want to practice magic when the king is hunting for sorcerers? Are you mad? Merlin, your life is destined for more important things.
But if I don't practice, then how will I get to be this great warlock?
There will come a time when your skills will be recognized.
Friend, how long do I have to wait?
Patience is a virtue, Merlin.
What, sitting by and doing nothing, that's a virtue?
The plot of this episode is not nearly as interesting as many of the other episodes in Season 1, but it was in no way bad by any means. Honestly, it's pretty much impossible to make a bad Merlin episode, like I said at the start. I don't know. I don't really have that much to say about this episode other than it's Nimueh's first episode, and God, I wish she was in the show more because she is just such a cool first antagonist. Also, it's hilarious to me that Arthur arrests Gwen and is practically walking her to her death, and then in the next season, it's true love. Arthur really has his way with the ladies. Okay, also, Merlin literally confessing to being a sorcerer and no one believing him is the pinnacle of hilarity because God, are they ever stupid? And cue Arthur checking Merlin out in 3, 2, 1, next episode.
I know I'm just a servant, and my word doesn't count for anything.
I wouldn't lie to you.
I want you to swear to me what you're telling me is true.
I swear it's true.
Then I believe you.
I feel like this is a very overlooked episode by the fans, but I also think that's because it follows one of the best episodes. And to be fair, I used to look over it too. But in this most recent Merlin rewatch, I have a newfound appreciation for it. It's a good, entertaining episode with an appropriate amount of humor and a weird little bit of depth. It's actually the first episode where we get a glimpse into the inner workings of Arthur's mind. At the start of the show, Arthur's main ambition and main root of his anxiety and aggravation is his father and gaining his approval. For Uther to simply be proud of him and feel worthy enough of the kingdom he'll one day inherit. This is also the first episode where we see Arthur actually listen and care about what Merlin has to say, which is kind of crazy considering it's the second episode and he may or may not have tried to kill him with a mace in the last one. Anyways.
Must Uther be sacrificed for the boy?
Their time cannot come until his has passed.
But is that time now?
That is of your choosing.
I will not choose between them.
Then turn a blind eye. That is, after all, your talent.
Okay, for starters, the magical beetle in the ear thing is so creepy and triggers my heebie-jeebies, and I hate every part of that. This episode is really good. I like the backstory a lot, but it's just kind of aggravating. I swear to God, Agaius is the only person in Camelot with half a brain cell in this episode. Like, no offense, but the Pendragons are the most idiotic breed of human. How can you not see that Edwin is a sorcerer? And the fact that they all so easily assumed Gaius was wrong and let him go from his position as court physician. Like, what? I just love Gaius, or Gustavus, as my mom would say, so seeing crap get thrown in his face always annoys me. Unless that crap comes from Kilgara. Then it's funny and, not gonna lie, kind of deserved. Next.
She's incredible. Don't worry. I'll find a way to get you out of it. Just make sure you don't end up in the stocks this time.
I won't.
I think I'm starting to get the hang of this whole deception lark.
Another episode that falls under the everyone in Camelot is stupid except for Gaius and Merlin and sometimes Gwen umbrella. Like, seriously, how does no one question the giant branch that falls so suspiciously off the tree? And also, how does no one question these clearly magical staffs that the two of them carry around? I mean, like, just come on.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that's right, come on.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Ultimately, this is a good solid episode that introduces us to Seer Morgana, as well as the concept of Avalon. It also introduces us to Merlin and Uther strangely being a great duo in the show. Like, not gonna lie, one of my favorites, and I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. Episodes like these trigger my appetite for an episode where Arthur fell under a love spell for Merlin. God, that could have been so funny. Like, Servant of Two Masters levels of hilarity. Also, why does the she look like baby Jim Carrey Grinch?
Well, Uther believes he is magic and that makes him guilty.
Uther's wrong.
You believe that?
What if magic isn't something you choose? What if it chooses you? Why are you looking at me like that?
Nothing.
So here's the sitch. I have the biggest love-hate relationship with it because it's really good. Like, it's really good. I love Morgana in it. I love Merlin in it. I love Arthur in it. I love Gwen in it. I love everything in it. There's just this one thing. This one little thing that just makes it one of the most aggravating episodes of the entire show. And his name's Mordred. I hate Mordred. With every fiber in my soul, with every bone in my body, I hate Mordred. I hate him. And not just because, you know, what happens at the end of the show, but just because I just don't like him. I've never liked him. Even at the start, before all that crap happened, I did not like him. I don't like Mordred. This is not a Mordred fan page. This is a Mordred hate page, okay? Mordred lovers don't interact. I'm just kidding. Anyone interact. I need people to watch. So my biggest question with this episode is, how on earth did Arthur forget that Mordred was a druid? We know he remembers who he is later on, but how does he just conveniently forget that important tidbit of information? How did Mordred become a knight? Why couldn't Merlin just go full Hat McKillen and kill Mordred when he had the chance? But at the same time, I'm okay with it because it's for the sake of character development for Merlin. So, it's fine. Even though it's not, but it's fine, okay? It's meant to show how Merlin matures and takes his role in Arthur's life and protection much more seriously, and just in general, I have a lot of feelings about this episode, but a lot of those feelings are just gonna come out in rambling hate speech of Mordred. So let's just move on, because there's a lot of plot holes that all stem from this one episode, and it really, 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 really aggravates me. So let's move on.
I know how he respected you, my lord. But I don't share these memories. How can I? I was 10 years old. I only know I loved him and he was taken from me.
This is an episode of two firsts for our dear old Morgana. It's her first assassination attempt on Uther, which, don't worry, you'll get many more of those, as well as our first evil Morgana smirk. A signature Morgana move. It's a very good episode and definitely works as the first crack in the glass of Morgana's do-good demeanor. It's our first of many glimpses into her Pendragon rage getting the best of her. But at the end of the day, the good that's still there takes over and saves the day. That, and maybe Merlin with a magical staff, of course. Speaking of which, how did he catch up to the two of them so quickly?
I'm happy to be your servant to the day I die. Sometimes I think I know you, Merlin. Other times. Well, I know you. You're a great warrior. One day, you'll be a great king.
It's episodes like this one that trigger my intense longing for a prequel show all about Igraine's death in the Great Purge that followed it. This episode is just so intense. Now imagine what an entire show surrounding that would be like. It would be amazing! The episode doesn't have that much humor to it, but that fact is forgiven by how much heart there is at its core. I won't babble on too much because there's a lot I could unpack about this episode, but I'll just say one thing. Gaius' letter to Merlin in this episode is quite the tearjerker. It just encompasses how much they mean to each other and how Gaius truly grew to care for Merlin. It's a very heartfelt message from one soul to another.
Yes? Lancelot, 5th son of Lord Eldred of Northumbria.
Lance, a lot. My servant mentioned you. Got your seal? No.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Okay, so here's the thing. I have 3 favorite Merlin characters, each for different reasons. Arthur, at the end of the day, is my all-time favorite because I don't know, I grew up just loving him and his character and those types of characters. So, himbos for the win. But then Merlin, in my opinion, is the best character in the whole show. Which also isn't usual for me because usually the protagonists kind of are not my favorite. So that just proves how great of a character Merlin is to me. But then there's Lancelot, my special little guy. This entire episode is just a PSA about how honesty is key. But it's covered with a veil of Merlin and Lancelot being besties and Gwencelot making me want to throw up and cry because they deserved so much better. The lessons of true chivalry rather than noble blood set a great precursor for the future of the Round Table. And it's crazy to me to think about the fact that Lancelot was the first canonical appearance of the guys. Even before Leon. I complain a lot about how Lancelot was literally only in 7 episodes. But honestly, I just think that fact just makes me love him even more. Distance simply makes the heart grow fonder.
You show him most extraordinary loyalty.
It is my job, sire.
Beyond the line of duty.
Well, you could say there is a bond between us.
I'm glad. Look after him.
What can be said about this episode without talking way too much about it? Honestly, I don't think I can answer that question easily, but I'll do my best. For starters, this is a fantastic take on Excalibur's origin story. And personally, I love the fact that the Dubois brothers blame Uther for Igraine's death because, well, it's just the truth. Uther, however, refuses to see it that way. His insistence on how he is not to blame for Igraine's death, matched with his own sworn dedication to keeping the truth behind Arthur's birth a secret, does nothing except show that he probably is to blame and just simply is in denial because, well, it's Uther. That's kind of what he does. He's an asshole. An asshole that can't take any responsibility for his choices at that. However, his willingness to die in Arthur's place against the medieval Darth Vader just shows that her death wasn't completely a selfish decision made for only the kingdom. Uther does truly love his son, and won't allow Arthur to pay for his own sins of the past. And it's kind of funny to me how Arthur lost Igraine to quote-unquote dark, evil magic, and yet unknowingly entrusted the embodiment of said magic with Arthur. Uther never fails in amusing me, and that's why I love him.
I won't fail, no matter what you think.
Arthur, you are my only son and heir. I can't risk losing you for the sake of some serving boy.
Because his life's worthless.
No, because it's worth less than yours.
I can save him. Let me take some men.
No.
We'll find the antidote and bring it back.
No.
Why not?
Because one day I will be dead and Camelot will need a king.
This episode gave Super Hulock Tumblr way too much to work with.
Arthur, it's too dark. Too dark.
What an era. This is one of my absolute favorite episodes of the first season, and is such a fantastic setup to what will make Arthur a great king. It's the first of many instances where Arthur proves to care just as much about Merlin as he does him. Really, his dedication to finding the flower and saving Merlin from certain death is quite endearing. Especially when you consider that this is only the 4th episode of the entire show, and they're already trying to die for each other. Also, poor Arthur's panicked rage towards his father has got to be the highlight of the entire episode. I mean, just look at him. It's just pathetic.
I had no idea you're so keen to die for me.
Trust me, I can hardly believe it myself.
I'm glad you're here, Merlin.
I like the episodes where Merlin and Arthur are sneaking around the castle being goofs together, like this one in the Death Song of Uther Pendragon. Both episodes successfully showcasing what will make, or has made, Arthur a greater king than his father ever could be. Arthur's weaknesses when it comes to being crown prince, or king, of Camelot, all stem from Uther and the values he's instilled in him since childhood, which only allows his anger and honor to get in the way of his success. It's a fantastic and essential episode in terms of Arthur and his character. Definitely one of the first season's finest. Also, the besties who eat rat together stay together.
How's your knee walking coming along? Oh, don't run away.
From you?
Oh, thank God. I thought you were deaf as well as dumb.
Look, I've told you you're an ass. I just didn't realize you were a royal one. Oh, what are you going to do? Get your daddy's men to protect you?
I could take you apart with one blow.
I could take you apart with less than that.
Are you sure?
Hey, fun boys, get the room.
Without a doubt, this has to be one of the greatest pilot episodes ever. The placement on the list for this one is a no-brainer. I absolutely adore this episode. Everything about it is just perfect in my eyes. It sets up the rest of the show for success flawlessly. It introduces the 4 main characters, their dynamics, and just everything. I don't want to go too deep into anything because, well, I may or may not be planning a video on just this, so stay tuned for that. Plus, may I just add that it's just dripping with a heavy layer of sweet old nostalgia for me. It just makes me yearn for those days that I was waiting every week for a new episode. More than anything, I would love to go back to those days. But since I'm unfortunately not a time bender, I'm content to just sit there and rewatch this episode over and over again, reminding myself of why I love it so much.
He must care for you a great deal.
Arthur did the same for any village. That's just the way he is.
It's more than that. He's here for you.
I'm just his servant.
Give him more credit than that. He likes you.
That's because he doesn't know me. And if he did, I'd probably be dead by now.
You don't really believe that, do you?
I think this episode is probably one of the most important ones for a multitude of reasons, but mainly because of how it fortified the main theme of the show. Merlin and Arthur are 2 sides of the same coin, and no matter what, life will find a way of connecting them. They're fire and rain, the sun and moon, yin and yang, canonical soulmates bound together by 2 prophesized lives that make up one single destiny. But the episode also reflects Merlin's deepest fear of losing everything he has because of his talents, as said by his mummy. and how that fear personified by Will leads him to believe that he is nothing more to Arthur than his bumbling, disobedient, strangely wise, and charmingly funny servant. But everyone except Merlin can see that that's anything but the truth. Even Arthur, even if he wouldn't want to admit it. At night before they sleep, Arthur asks Merlin if he's found his place in the world yet. Merlin shares that he's not quite sure, because he's terrified that if Arthur knew who he truly was, he would leave in an instant without ever looking back. Arthur seemingly isn't pleased with Merlin's answer, because he switches the subject out of exhaustion because... Really, Merlin? You can't see just how much you mean to me and how I can't seem to last 5 minutes without you walking a step behind me? Arthur's question is later answered by Huneth, by saying he belongs at Arthur's side. Not only because the likes of a greater Albion need them, but because they need each other. And that's the point of the show.
You're like two sides of the same coin.
I've heard someone say that about us before.
So there you have it. Season 1 of Merlin ranked from... Well, they're all great in their own way, alright? Just some are extra special. Now listen, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I have around 13 years of adoring the Merlin universe under my belt. So I like to think that my opinions on the characters, episodes, discourse, the fact that season 4 is the best one and no one can ever change my mind on that, I just like to think that my opinions are pretty fair and, well, right, but who doesn't think their opinions are right? But I love discussing everything about the show, even if we disagree, even if you like Mordred. So let me know your rankings, or even just some disagreements with my rankings that you have in the comment section below. And hey, if you liked the video and want more meetings of the Merlin minds with me, then subscribe, because I'll obviously be doing the entire show. Who am I if not an encyclopedia of Merlin opinions?